Rev up your engines. All right, today we got an 03 Camry. It's heading for 500,000 miles. It's got 438 now, and guess what? He's the original owner of the car, and he works for Toyota, and the factory's there. Now the question may be, oh, it must be one of those Japanese-made ones. No, it was made in Kentucky. He even worked in that factory. Now it's the larger engine, it's the V6, showing that the V6 is the force. They can both last a really long time. We'll look under the hood, and as we do, hey look, the lift even still works. It's not falling down. The original engine, now he's put on about 3 timing belts. They're rubber timing belts, but it is the 3000cc engine, which is non-interference, so if it broke, it wouldn't really damage anything. He's been through a couple alternators, he's changed the valve cover gaskets on it, but it's still the original engine and the original transmission. Now, for most of its life, it didn't burn any oil, but now it burns a little bit of oil. It burns about a quart every 3,000 miles, and it's got 438,000 miles on it. So that tells you they knew how to build these things. Longevity is what you want. This is the kind of vehicle that you want. And to top it all off, it's pretty strongly built because his daughter smashed both the front, back, typical child, but it was put back together and it's still rolling down the road. I mean, check out those alloy wheels. They're still in pretty good shape. As we look inside, this was an XLE, so it's got leather seats, and sure, they're faded and cracked a little. Especially the center ones, you can see he's put tape on it. That's just something that wears out on these. The back seats are still in pretty good shape. Got a few cracks and stuff, but hey, they're still there. They're still pretty comfortable. The wood is still in pretty good shape. Let's see if it starts. Starts right up. Now the check engine light's been on a little while. He said it runs okay. We're going to check all that, but you can see it really has 438,092 miles on it. Full transmission, original engine, still ships pretty good. And of course, since it's old, we got dinosaur land. He even has a tape in the tape deck. Doesn't say what it is. But the AC, of course, all that stuff still works. And the steering wheel's wear, so he put a little cover that he likes on it. I would have done a leather one and then laced it up. Like I did on the Matrix. Check it out, we'll put it in gear. Almost 500,000 miles. It still doesn't shake at all. Key turned on, so the idiot lights are on, and away we go. Now this is a 21-year-old car, so the computer is going to be a bit slower than the modern ones. We'll do a standalone diagnosis. That's a Camry 03 1MZ engine V6 made in Kentucky, 4-speed. Here we go. Oh, they can do a basic topology scan, so away the scan goes. So it's slow. We'll see, it's taking a while. Got a whole bunch of codes. It's old. But it runs perfectly fine, so we'll see what these crazy codes are. First, we'll start with the airbag system. I'd never expect them to work on something this old anyway. Driver squib circuit short, so, you know, the driver's side airbag isn't going to work, so keep your seatbelts on strong. So, let's go to the main codes, the ECM, of which there are 14 codes. Let's see what they are. 14 of them. It's kind of a record for a Toyota. Below threshold, evap system, catalytic efficiency below threshold, evap, they're all the same codes, so it's not like there's 14 of them, they're just the same codes that keep repeating themselves. Now, since it's got 438,000 miles on it, that doesn't surprise me that the catalytic converter is inefficient, but if you look, you'll see on the windshield, there are no inspections because they don't do inspections in this state for it. So, as I tell people with these goofy evap codes and catalytic converter inefficiency, if the car runs okay, your temperature gauge stays normally in the middle, the engine accelerates fine, he drove 70 miles an hour coming here, the car runs fine, you can just ignore it. But if you live in those states that do emissions inspections, voila, you're going to spend money fixing all that stuff. Well, let's look at some live data. We'll start her up. Go to live data. Black is good, red is bad. La-dee-da-dee-da. Short-term fuel trim 1.53. It's adding a little fuel. It's running a little bit lean. You could probably put cleaner in it. When they're this old, a lot of times the injectors won't spray just enough fuel, but of course, it's going to get better gas mileage this way, so if it runs okay, a lot of guys will just leave it alone. Now, that can make the cat running kind of inefficiency. That could trip the code too, but it runs okay. So you're not going to mess with something like this, or something that's almost got 500,000 miles and runs perfectly fine. Sensors normal. Fuel trim, I mean, look at that. 99.16. 100 is perfect, so it's only off 84/100%. That's not much. Trim, bank 2 sensor 1.01, 1 is perfect. Hey, you can't complain. Oh, now it's another 100th off. Got through, all the data is in black. So far, none of it's red. Let's just whip through it all. Nope, it's all good. For a ride, no backup camera, just a CD changer and a tape deck. So back we go. For idling smooth as silk. Even though it's got almost 500,000 miles on it. Yeah, sometimes these things are unbelievable. Let's see how it shifts. You can't feel it shift. You can hear it shift, the noise as the RPMs go down, but you can't even feel it shift. Oh, these older ones do tend to float a little, and this is totally normal. You know, it's got a nice smooth ride. Not the tightest cornering vehicle on earth, but they're very smooth too, even with almost 500,000 miles on them. Of course, the brakes, they're working perfectly fine. No grinding, no pulling, no noise. The ABS system still works. Nobody's coming down Tobacco Road, so here we go. No problem climbing up hills. No, I'm not going to push it with a car that's got almost 500,000 miles. So rather than the usual drag strip here, we'll just slow down a little. Nobody's coming. And now we'll take off. Passing gear, look at that. It downshifted fine, smooth, let go, no clunks, no bumps. Yeah, they knew how to make them in Kentucky when they were putting these babies together. You want to pass someone, we're doing 38, floor it, and the acceleration is decent. For an old car with almost 500,000 miles, no smokes coming out the back, no horrible clanking noises, just keeps moving. A nice, smooth cruising machine with almost 500,000 miles on it. I mean, you can't complain. Boring? Well, to some people, maybe that's boring. All the other car companies wish they were this boring when it came to lasting this long and having happy customers. The check engine light came back on because it says the catalytic converter is inefficient. Oh, well, I can't tell it driving it. It's driving fine. Still one smooth machine. Oh, I can't find anything that still doesn't work. Everything works. Turn signals, headlights, horn, sunroof, AC, radio, tape deck, even a compass that's built into the rearview mirror. Looks like they're expanding Outlaw Field, the airport, so if any of you want to visit me in Clarksville and has a plane, feel free to fly on down. It's right behind our house, and you can take me for a ride. I'll buy you lunch. So there you have it, almost 500,000 miles. He's the original owner. His daughter smashed it up. It's still going that good. Even he's amazed that the tranny's still going. I mean, these things were solid made. They don't have all the insane technology that the modern ones do. And of course, they're getting rid of the V6s. They're putting in turbo 4s, or in the case of Camrys, the only thing they make now in the United States are hybrids. Yeah, they get 51 miles a gallon, but it's extremely complex technology. This thing is simple. He's done all the repairs, doesn't cost much money, still runs perfectly fine, burns, a quart of oil maybe every 3,000-4,000 miles. That is nothing. You're supposed to change it then anyways. So you can't beat one of these things. With a stick you can. In this case it was smashed front and back, but it's still going like a clock down the road. I mean, this would have even turned my grandfather, who hated foreign cars, he was a Buick man, if he saw this thing, he would stop rolling in his grave over what happened to society and say, okay, they knew what they were doing when they built this thing. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Lorenzo says, I'm losing oil pressure in my 2015 Kia Soul with a 1.6. What causes it to lose oil? I changed the valve gasket, PCV valve, and the engine's losing oil. I look at the exhaust, I don't see smoke coming out. The problem is you bought a Kia. Their engines aren't made all that well. Your car is burning oil. Now here's the thing. Modern engines have catalytic converters. They got all kinds of pollution controls. They run at a pretty good stoichiometric ratio. So you won't see smoke coming out until they're really shot. But it's burning oil because that's the only place it can go. It's either going to leak or it's going to burn. And you said it's not leaking on the ground, so it's burning it out. And it's typical. Now, my advice, you said you want to get rid of it in a couple of years. Change your oil every 4,000 miles with full synthetic oil. Add oil as it burns, and pretty much live with it. If it starts running poorly, check the spark plugs. If they burn up with oil, put new spark plugs in. It's only a 4-cylinder engine. Guy brought me one the other day. I was running like crap, and I saw, oh, it's really worn out on number 4. That plug's gone. It was all coated in oil and burnt carbon, even though it would only been in there for 8,000 miles. So I changed that one plug out and went back to running normal. So I told the guy, I said, look, you know they're junky cars. He said, yeah, I know. I said, just keep changing the spark plug. When it runs bad, take it out, put a new one in, and hope it lasts long enough that you can find a good car. But I did tell him, I said, start looking now, because you never know what you're going to find. Somebody might be thrown in jail. They got to sell their car. Kid might join the army. They got to sell the car. Who knows? There's lots of reasons. Old people pass away. There's nice old cars with low mileage. You never know what you're going to run into. But in your case, as long as it runs, keep adding oil. And if the spark plugs clog up, replace them and just live with it, because you're not going to rebuild that Kia. Not worth the money, and it's 9 years old. You got 129,000 miles. So I tell people not to buy Kias. It might be fine for 0 to 100,000 miles, but after that, they turn into rolling pits. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.